Mythos history. I am your narrator. No big morality tale today, just a simple tale about grief and loss. The late model luxury sedan drives slowly down the dirt road. The sole occupant is a woman in her early 30s. The woman's phone rings. She lets it go to the voicemail. When it does, she presses a button on the steering wheel. A voice comes through the car's speakers. "Hey Marlo, it's Kimberly. Just calling to check up on you. I just want you to know, take all the time you need. The company wants me to assure you that you will have a job when you come back. On a personal note, I can't even imagine the pain you are going through. If you ever need to talk, I'm just a phone call away." The call ends, and Marlo presses a button that erases the message. Just up ahead is a turnoff. The car slows even more and turns into a driveway made out of gravel with dense trees on both sides. The car pulls up and stops just feet away from a small log cabin. Marlo sits there and looks at the structure. This is going to be their vacation home. She still owns it and will make use of it now. Marlo gets out and grabs a bag. She takes it inside and comes back out to grab a cardboard box filled with bottles. She takes it inside and puts it on the small kitchen table. She then opens all the windows in the cabin to air it out by letting the late summer air come in. As the stale cabin air gently left the cabin, Marlo closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She ignores her personal cell phone and lets it go to voicemail. After some time, she picks up the phone and checks the voicemail. "Hello, sweetheart. It's Mom. Just calling to see how you are doing. I know the past few months have been hard on you. I just want you to know I love you and will be here if you need anything. Call me back. Love you." With no expression on her face, Marlo presses the button and erases the message. Deciding she was far too sober, Marlo goes to the box and pulls out a bottle of vodka. She then goes to the cabinets in the kitchen and checks the glasses. She finds them covered in dust, so she just takes a large swig from the bottle. As the night falls, Marlo is half drunk, closing the windows. Another quarter bottle later, she passes out on the couch. The next day greets her with a raging hangover. As the day progresses, Marlo cleans herself and the cabin. The phone rings again. Like before, she lets it go to voicemail. After a few minutes, she checks it. "Yo, it's James. Just talked to Mom. Give her a call. She's worried about you. So am I. If you need anything, give me a call. But call Mom first. Bye." Marlo erases the message and opens another bottle. Later that day, as the sun neared the horizon, Marlo is sitting on the couch listening to the sounds of the forest around her. She sits there looking at a picture of a man and a small boy. As she runs her thumb down the picture, she thinks about them. She had met Dave in college. Their romance was a whirlwind. At the end of their college career, they were new graduates and newlyweds. The ceremony wasn't large. It was just a trip to the courthouse and a party with family and friends after. It wasn't soon after before Ben was born. Times were tough with Marlo and David beginning their careers and raising Ben, but they had done it. Ben grew up and was getting closer to being a teen. That never happened, however. David was driving Ben home from the movies and was T-boned by a drunk driver during a rainstorm. Both of them died instantly. That happened just a few months ago. Since then, Marlo's life had become darkness filled with mourning. Life had become unanchored and chaotic. Marlo put the picture down and drank deeply from the newly opened bottle. The day passed with memories and more drinking. Marlo passed out on the couch and woke up after dark. She sat up and just stared into the darkness. This dark meditation was broken by a small voice from somewhere in the cabin. "Mom?" Marlo sat up straighter. "Ben?" Marlo stands and starts walking around the cabin, searching in the dark. "Ben?" Once the search was over, Marlo went to the bedroom. She took off her clothes and lay down on the bed. As she drifted off, she could feel an arm wrap around her. There was no mistaking it. It was her husband's arm. She would know that arm anywhere. "Hey, baby," the voice said behind her. "Hey, I missed you," Marlo responded drunkenly. She felt a slight breath on the back of her neck, just like countless nights before. She closes her eyes and passes out. The bright light of the late morning sun wakes Marlo up. Shaky, with a massive hangover, she gets up and goes to the bathroom. After she crawls back in the bed and snoozes for a few more hours. She wakes up once again. It is then when she showers and gets dressed. She had some food, but even more alcohol to start her day. Drunk again, she walks across the cabin to get another bottle. She steps onto something. Marla bends over to pick up the object. Tears immediately roll down her face. In her hand was a red ball. It was one of Ben's favorite toys. It had disappeared just after the accident. How did it get here, Marla wondered. She grabbed it with her other hand and brought the ball to her face as she cried. Marlo stayed there crying for a good long time. Then Marlo got another whiskey bottle and started the drink as she sat and rolled the ball on the table back and forth, back and forth. Night fell and Marlo continued the drink. When her eyes became too heavy, she got up, walked to the bathroom, and undressed. She drew a bath and got in. As she submerged herself in the hot water, her body relaxed even more. Drowsy, she sat there thinking of her husband and son. Leisurely, she reached over and picked up a straight razor. She knew it was there because she had brought it to the cabin. This was her plan all along. She opened the straight razor. For a minute, she watched the light gleam off of the steel. It is then Marlo closed her eyes as she put the razor on her skin. Marlo closed her eyes as she put the razor on her skin. As she pulled it to the side, Marlo heard her husband whisper in her ear, "I'll see you soon, my love." Marlo smiled, and then there was nothing. Marlo woke up the next morning. The water had blood in it, and there was a deep scratch on her wrist. She picked up the straight razor from the bottom of the bathtub. She had passed out while she was cutting. Sitting in the bloody water, Marlo screamed and started to wail. She didn't know what to do but get out. She cleaned the bathtub and got dressed. She cleaned the scratch and went to go sit on the couch. Slightly crying, she put her head in her hands. She had heard of people surviving such attempts as hers. These people went on to be grateful that they still had a life. Marlo felt that, but in a smaller way. Mostly, she just wanted the pain to end. She wanted it all to end. Unsure what to do, she got up and decided to take a walk. Either to process what had just happened, or to work up the courage to try again. Once Marlo opened the door, she noticed this morning was different. The air was heavier and fog filled the air. The sun glaring down on the fog gave it an eerie, glowing quality to it. Marlo collected herself and started walking among the trees. Even though the fog was thick, Marlo was confident she wouldn't get lost and would be able to find her way back to the cabin. The minutes ticked by as Marlo thought and walked. As she did so, she could hear the voices of both her husband and her son calling out to her, wondering where she was at. Why wasn't she there with them? Lost in these thoughts, she didn't notice the large shadow she walked into. When she did notice, Marlo stopped and looked up. Casting the shadow was a large creature obscured by the fog. The air seemed too thick to breathe and felt too heavy to walk in. Marlo looked up with tears in her eyes as the creature roared. Filling her with never-ending sadness and tearing away what hope she had left. Grief is a powerful emotion. It could either make you stronger or completely destroy you. Now Marlo seemed to have help from the outside, but that's rarely the case if you try to process grief alone without the help of friends and loved ones.